This is Red Dog Terrain. Welcome back to the shed. Today we're building a decorative border for a battle map. About 2 years ago, I built a battle map for Dungeons and Dragons and generally used markers and expo markers to draw stuff on. And then I had a YouTube channel where I made terrain, and I thought I was doing pretty good until I saw these people, Dimension 20. I thought my battle map was just fine, and then I saw the Crown of Candy episodes of Dimension 20. I was completely blown away by what they were building and what they had set up and the immersion that they had created with just a little bit of extra effort. So I did something I don't normally do, and I planned stuff out. Or at least planned stuff out for this channel. I'm a planner in real life. So I took the materials I had on hand, including these 1" by 1" square dowels and masonite. And I'll admit now, masonite was probably not the best choice of materials. And then I got to work. I cut 12 pieces. And then I'm showing how I had planned on putting the masonite on, and the game board would sit on top, kind of recessed into it. This all works fairly well. I would learn later on, towards the end of the build, that my game board, my battle map, was actually warped. So things didn't fit quite right in there, but it works well enough. With my materials cut, I start gluing everything together and clamping it over. This took a couple days just to make sure everything was well secured. I also had to redo these several times. I think when I would put the clamps on, the wooden dowels would move just enough to make something uneven or raise something too high. And if you actually look at this thing after it's done, you can tell that this has been ripped apart a few times and put back together. If you're excited about how this is going, or you want to see how it ends, go ahead and click the like button. I'd appreciate it. Thanks. I knew to have enough mass and enough surface to do all the rocks and the hills and the grass that I wanted to. I was going to have to cut at least 2 strips and make it too wide with the XPS I have. It's about a 3/4 inch XPS. I can't seem to find the nice thick 1" or even the 2" where I live. So I had 2 of them, put them together, cut them, glued them together, cut 45-degree angles, made a corner, and then would glue it onto the corners. Glue the corners on the corners. Crazy. I ended up having to do a couple of these just because the chunks of XPS that I was working with were not as long as the game board. The game board at one point is like 33 inches long, and I just didn't have that big a piece, mostly because I can't fit anything that big in my car from the hardware store. I mean, I can fit a 33-inch chunk in the back of the car. I can't fit a full sheet of XPS in the car. So I used Eileen's tacky glue to glue all this down, but I also knew that it'd be smart to screw these in. Even at one point did a little bit of super glue and baking soda just to fill in some gaps. But once I put the whole thing together, I realized there was much bigger gaps, and I was going to have to come up with something else, which I'll show you later on. I started shaping with my handheld foam wire cutter, and then the wire snapped, and boy, those are hard to put back together. I even looked up a YouTube channel to try and figure out how to put that back on, and I'm struggling. If you've got tips on how to rewire a handheld, please let me know. Once I gave up on that, I just pulled out a utility knife and started hacking away. And when I say hack, I really do mean hack, because you'll see here in a second that I broke my thing. I broke it. It's my fault. I broke it. I thought I could fill in the gaps with just some spackle, but some of them are just way too big. So I had these super long Q-tips, wooden Q-tips, and I cut the heads off of them and skewered them through, and then just glued it real tight. And the physical part of the Q-tips held together a lot better than just glue. A few other times I just took look, you can see the little shards laying on the ground. Took those slivers and just stuck them in there and just filled in gaps with extra pieces of XPS foam. Here I'm making a cave. It's supposed to kind of be a secret, and I don't really talk about it anymore until the very end. But yeah, made a little cave entrance. My thought for the board is that one corner would start real rocky and kind of cliff-like, and then slowly kind of tamper down and be less rocky and kind of just hilly, and then eventually it would just be this nice graded curved hill that was all green and grassy. This is my favorite technique for making cliff sides and real rocket jagged stuff. You just take your utility knife and you cut everything at an angle, a whole bunch of little chops, and then you come at a different angle, and then just take a stick, some tweezers, your fingers, whatever you have, and just rake it across, and bits will come flying off. It makes a giant mess. And then you just kind of clean it up a little bit. You can drag I took a gnarly wire brush across it just to kind of add a little bit more detail to it. You can even take a aluminum foil or brick and really get some texture on it. This is the other side, away from the cliff side, where I'm sanding it down. I want a nice curved edge. I'm thinking like the cliffs of not Sweden, where is it? Switzerland. Those nice rolling hills, and then eventually that pretty much the whole thing would be grass on this side. Back to the cliffy side, I spread across some glue, and then sprinkled on some coarse sand just to give the top part texture. This was real flat, unlike the other side, so I knew I needed to do something to it. In a lid, I squirted in 3 different colors of reds and browns and tans, and it just kind of went nuts. I didn't really care how they blended, or whether it was like, oh, this part needed to be red, this part brown. It's just all mushed and gushed together. I think it looks better that way. It looks more natural. You're not going to have just all red or all brown areas. They're all going to bleed together. But as I move towards the hilly part and the grassy part, I definitely tried to keep it more of one color, just because I knew that most of it was going to end up being covered by grass and flock later on. So this part's more tan. Here I'm putting on 2 different washes. I took a brown wash. I probably need to remake my brown wash, and then a black wash. The black wash was way better. It's an oil wash rather than just the acrylic paint and water. You slop this on there, put it in all the cracks. It really emphasizes everything and all the texture that you've put into it. Talent in a bottle is what they call it. I got a few tufts. The tufts are sticky enough, but I always put extra. I put a little super glue on there just to make sure that they stay on. After the tufts, I painted with glue and then pulled out my static grass applicator. Thanks to Matt for purchasing that for me. And put down a little bit of grass. This is just a mix of actually, it's a lot of leftover grass from previous stuff, and I just all throw it in one little tin and toss it in there. I think it looks better, again, just like the cliffs, to have that variety of colors rather than just all green. If you have a bunch of different lengths and colors, it looks better. The static grass applicator leaves spots and blanks, so you go over it again with a blended flock, and then the rest of the rolling hills get the same kind of flock. I even used some of my favorite flocking, the 4-in-1 scatter from Huge Miniatures. I would have loved to have done the whole board in this, but that would have been a lot of flocking. I've been rambling so much I didn't have time to put in a story, so at this point I'm just going to say please like and subscribe, leave me a comment to the best. Those really make my day. For now, I'm going to let the music play as we go to the final shots. Thanks for watching.